Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Saturday showcase for the Southampton Game Jam. We will be starting shortly. I am Tom, and I'm here with.
Hi, it's Johnny. So thanks, Tom. So thanks to everybody who's been working on the game so far and who's been participating in the game in the Discord, and the people who've submitted videos for this stream. If you haven't submitted a video today because maybe your game hasn't come together or you're still pushing around ideas and you didn't feel like sharing at this point, know that there's still time. The deadline for this game jam isn't until Friday. There's plenty of time. You could start a new game yourself right now and finish it in time. And that might be useful for Tom, who I believe has not made progress on his game yet.
Don't tell him that, Johnny.
So do know that the deadline for submitting the games in full is 7 p.m. on Friday. Please have your games submitted to our itch page. Ideally, make them playable for Windows or on web, in which case we will be able to play them on our closing stream on Sunday. For today, though, we're just going to be looking through the videos that you've all submitted of what your progress has been so far. We're not really going to be playing through the games or anything like that. I know that there are 2 or 3 submissions of completed games already that we don't have videos for, and we will play through them when we play through everything else next week. But for now, we're just going to jump into it and play the first video and see what everybody's been up to.
Alright, so let's take a look at the first one, which I believe is called Noir. Okay, so that's the first game on our list, so Noir. A suitable moody video for a noir style game. Sounds pretty good.
I liked that half of the video was about the dynamic soundtrack. So what I didn't get from that video was just I'm not sure if you did. What is the gameplay of that game?
I'm not sure, but it sounds like an interesting. I don't know whether sort of like the music and the moodiness is sort of integral to the gameplay, or whether that's just sort of extra polish and layering that they're doing on top. So I believe that's from Bothers, who may be in chat right now. He may be off doing something else, but maybe they can let us know as we're sort of going through it.
Yeah, maybe they can drop in and let us know what the core gameplay of that game is. But I liked the video. I thought it was very well put together. A lot more effort than I expected people to put into the videos.
I was gonna say, yeah, they've got more professionalism in their video editing than we do.
Yes, yeah, maybe they could do the stream next year. Yeah, that was great, awesome. Oh, here we go. Mothers is replying. Maybe he's going to tell us what's the mechanics of your game. And while he tells us that, we can have a check of the next video.
All right, let's have a look at the next one, which I think might actually be yours, Johnny. So let's take a quick look at that.
Game about burying treasure and finding treasure buried by other people. There's been a load of work done this week on our account system, which I'm not going to go into, but it exists and it allows us to track your scores over time. Once we log in, you can see on the right here that your score is based on your success both at burying and at searching for treasure. Before launch, I hope that we can add some leaderboards and things so you can directly compare how you've done on specific maps and overall directly to other players. Once we start the game, it'll pick a random treasure that somebody else has buried and we haven't yet attempted, and ask us to find it. In this case, that part of the game hasn't been implemented yet, so it defaults to just asking us to bury something. Usually, the part where we bury something would come after we find someone else's treasure. When we're burying treasure, we have this red arrow which shows us on the location of the island where we should be burying it. We can see a compass in the bottom right to help us navigate, and a timer which contributes to our score. This area on the left is a free drawing area that allows us to draw a map. This is the core of the game, as the players searching for treasure will only have the map that we have drawn and the compass to find it. We should be sure to draw accurate instructions based on landmarks in the world. Right now, the world is quite empty, but in the next week, I'll spend a lot of time filling this out. Once you reach the island, you can bounce around to find where you want to bury it, and you should also indicate this on your map somehow, and then press enter. You can write a little note, which will be sent to the pirates who find your treasure, confirm that you've made all of the final touches to your map, and then click bury. This isn't actually implemented yet, though. If a map isn't completable because somebody hasn't made the effort, for example, if they've drawn a map like this, then you should report it, which we will use to hopefully not keep these bad maps in rotation. And that's X. Hopefully, in a week's time, the sea will be filled with interesting things to see and do.
Okay, so that's your game, Johnny. So that's X.
That is my game.
Excellent. So
yeah, it's going quite well. Although you can see that I'm terrible with anything 3D, which is why my guy's bouncing around instead of walking.
I mean that's fine, isn't it? It's all of the stuff that needs to be there. So you went from the goal of this is actually to help other people find the treasure that you've buried. So you're not trying to keep it a secret anymore.
Yes, that's right. Because it's difficult to expect someone to draw a good map while trying to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
So instead, the incentive is you want to make it easy for somebody to find, and then we make that hard to do by giving you limited tools.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could try and incentivize it so that, like, you have to go and follow your own map again, like in, I don't know, like 2 days' time or something, and see if you can still remember it. But I think, yeah, tying it to sort of like somebody else and sort of seeing if they can do it, probably it incentivizes you to make the map good enough to follow.
That's a good idea, that you could come back to it yourself, but it's a game jam game, and I expect people will forget about it in 2 days' time.
That's true. Cool. So yeah, so I guess what's your plan for the next week of development? Is it sort of I guess it's the other side of that coin, the sort of like being able to investigate other people's treasure that's going to be the main development effort there?
So not particularly. I think that's all fairly simple, and that'll be done fairly quickly. Like I expect that'll be finished tomorrow. The actual game loop of bury, then find it, and then get points. The thing that's going to take forever is just filling that sea with stuff. So I want to have monsters. I want to have pirates fighting each other. I want to have little villages, all that sort of stuff where you can draw stuff. So yeah, that's where all the work's going to be, is trying to figure out how to make things look half decent in 3D.
So populating it with sort of interesting landmarks and like stuff that you can actually draw on your maps. So have you got any have you got any 3D artists you're working with?
I have not. So I've got some pre-made assets for piratey things, but I know so little about 3D. I don't really know what I'm doing with them. You don't know how excited I was when I managed to get my pirate to lower his arms instead of being in the T-pose, which he was originally. So I'm happy with where we are right now.
Oh, it's definitely looking good.
Ricky in the chat is calling out that it's like the game where you build traps and solve them yourself. Castle Doctrine, that's the name of it. It didn't come to mind. Also, Bothers updated us on his game is a first-person puzzle game, which, yeah, makes sense.
Cool.
So, yeah, let's check out the next one.
All right, let's take a look at the next one.
Hi everybody, my name is Ricky. I'm joining you from Calgary, Alberta in Canada, but I used to live in Southampton, which is why I know about this game jam, and I'm really glad that the remote nature of this has allowed me to take part in it this year. Here's my game. It's inspired by the theme Lost and Found, and it's a game where your town is filled with lost tourists asking for directions to their destination, and you as the player are the good Samaritan that can help them get there. So let me give you a couple of examples. This character in the bottom right is trying to get to the park, which is that green area with the sort of the white doorway being the entrance to that park. So I can give the directions. Okay, well, go north from here, straight ahead at the next junction, then turn right, and you'll arrive at the park. Bye. And we can see the character sort of heading along there and hopefully making their way through the various junctions to their destination. And another tourist wants to get to the hospital, and I can help them here, so no problem. Head south, turn right, then left, right once more, and you'll be there. Bye. There's a reasonable amount of work I've got left to do on it this week, but I feel like this main loop is getting there. That's the demo. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your game jam.
Okay, so that looks like pretty good already. I think doing any sort of natural language processing in a game jam is an incredibly brave effort, but it looks like he's well on the way there. So
I think that looks great.
I particularly like the way it sort of highlights the bit that it's recognised, like whether it's the north or the right or whatever.
Is that what it was doing with the shaky words?
I'm assuming so. Like that's the key bit of information that it's going to sort of actually follow when it goes along the street. Oh, okay. So Ricky's saying in chat it's all cheated, but you don't have to tell people that, Ricky. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm wondering how it works. I'm assuming it's probably just picking up keywords. Like if you say north in a lane, it'll just that's the only bit it cares about.
Like straight, north, left, right.
So the question I have about that, I guess, is there a reason to not just be very, very specific with everybody?
Speed,
like, obviously,
I guess, if you're on the clock.
Like, technically it looks really cool, but is there a reason not to just sit there and write, okay, first you go right, and then forward, and then right, and then forward, and then left, and then forward, and so on? But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. I'd like to see, like, do they make mistakes? Do people forget because you give them too long instructions, or because your instructions were ambiguous, or because your instructions were confusing because there was like so many rights and you couldn't remember if it was the first right or the third right? I think there's a lot of interesting things that could be done with that.
You know what could be a really cool thing to do with this is, I don't think you could probably fit it into the jam, but if you did something that polls the user's location and then populates it with sort of famous landmarks from their city.
So that wouldn't even be that hard. Like, as long as you're not expecting an actual map of their city, but you could pull up like the Calgary Library
or like the Southampton Rose Bowl Memorial. Or something.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do that. That'd be awesome. There's an idea, Ricky. So pick that up.
So if you don't know,
cool.
Ricky was one of the people that helped organise the game jam when it first started. So yeah, make sure you check out his game. He knows what he's doing. Cool. Should we take a look at the next one?
Let's do it.
This is our work in progress game for the game jam. It is a point and click mystery game, puzzle game sort of thing. It's got no title yet, so I'll just tell you the story. The story is you have to find your great uncle's lost treasure in this house somewhere. So each room is going to have a puzzle in it. Here's the library, bedroom. The foyer is where you begin. The kitchen, not done, and the dining room. And then this final room here has a red mark and it's locked. So we'll have to find some way to open the door. And over here I see a note. We have like an inspector thing here where you can view stuff and read the note. And down here in the hotbar we can read stuff again. There's also a key on the ground. So if I look at this key I can see that it's got a red mark. And I'm guessing that's going to open our door. I'm not guessing, I know the answer. And yes it does. So this is going to be where our first puzzle begins.
Cool. So that looks like a sort of. You know what that puts me in mind of? It reminds me of those sort of flash games that spawned like a whole genre of things, like the sort of escape the room type things, where you've got sort of you're locked in a room, you've got a puzzle, you've got to solve it and get out and things like that, but sort of expanded into like multiple rooms and in 3D. It's looking really really good already. Like they've got sort of like the whole framework for like that sort of puzzle game sort of already in place, and I guess now it's just putting those puzzles together in each of the different rooms.
It looks really polished already. Like the interface for rotating around that note that they found, and the way the doors open. Like if that was me doing that, those doors would be sci-fi doors that go up into the sky. So I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's always
Clearly,
yeah.
clearly they know what they're doing here.
Cool.
The interface with the objects at the bottom, that looks like it works and looks well developed. So it really does. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it, except adding puzzles and making the actual, game and storyline and stuff. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the sort of thing that you could lean into, sort of like just have a bunch of puzzles with no sort of what do you call it, necessary like narrative sort of stringing them together, or you could try and do some really cool sort of storytelling stuff where you weave elements of this story about this lost treasure sort of throughout the different puzzles that you've got going.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a strong sense of the theme there, but I'm sure you can put that into
it's a lost treasure, Johnny.
Quite easily.
It's a lost treasure, and you're trying to find it. Sure. It couldn't be any more lost and found.
Even in the demo, they found a key, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I suppose you can fit it quite easily. Yeah, that looks great. Really impressed by that. Looking forward to playing it.
Cool. Should we take a look at the next one?
Let's have a look.
So I'm not entirely sure what to call this game yet, or exactly how to theme it. I've just kind of been working on the mechanics. The idea is basically like a kind of top-down shooter roguelike. Because I thought roguelikes kind of fit in with the theme of Lost and Found a little bit, and then also to fit in a bit more with that, I thought I'd have various items scattered throughout the map which you have to find in order to kind of unlock the exit. When they're just kind of glowing keys, but as you can see there's an exit here, but it's kind of closed down, so if you go and find all the keys, you'll be able to get there. But I've just been working on the mechanics of kind of the enemies spawning in, you being able to shoot them. Got a couple exploding barrels as well, which kind of deal damage out in a radius. And if you let the enemies get too close to you, they do attack you, and you can see your health bar kind of going down a bit there. Currently working on random level generation. It's a little bit janky at the moment, which is why I'm just kind of working on this pre-made level that I've got going. Well, hopefully I'll have that done fairly soon. Then I also need to kind of get the assets done in terms of like sounds and art and stuff, but so far this is just kind of what I got. Simple level, mechanics all kind of pretty much working, so just got to get my random level generation in, and also all the art and assets, but it's looking decent so far. There you go, victory.
Alright, another sort of game that's looking really really polished already, sort of like. So I know they say they still want sort of like some of the art assets and whatnot in there, but in terms of sort of mechanics, it looks like it's more or less all there already.
Yeah, it looks in a good position for the mini showcase.
And that's...
you can quite easily see how you could scale that up and put some extra levels on, and then you're playing through it to collect whatever's in each room, and then get out the room to the next one, kill the things, stay away. Yeah, it looks really solid.
I say it's one of these games that's leaned sort of into like the mechanical sort of way of bringing across the theme. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's scattered and you have to find it. It's a very like maybe a literal interpretation, but it like fits it really well, and it's like perfect for that kind of game. And honestly, even like the sort of visuals of it and things, like I'd almost keep it just as it is, have it like as a really cool like abstract sort of like shooters. What would you call that, sort of like, I guess top down shooter type thing? Top-down shooter, I guess. It's fairly a common genre, but I'm not sure what the name would actually be. It's not the type of game I usually play, but it looks good. So I know they mentioned procedural levels as well, which again, like maybe ambitious for like a game jam, even one that's like a little bit longer than usual. I would almost say sort of like maybe just sort of like handcraft a couple and call it a day.
Yeah, that would be the first thing I would drop if they seem to be running out of time. But but I mean, if they've got time to do it, procedural generation it's a thing that I think is more fun to make than it is to play usually, because usually, I mean, unless you're gonna be playing for hours and hours and hours, the player doesn't always get the benefit of procedural generation, right? Like they'd be better off with like spending the time that you made the procedural generator making 10 really solid, well-crafted levels.
I mean, that's so
But-
like Ricky points out that they do sort of describe it as a roguelike, and procedural generation is kind of like core to that. But just for like almost a demo of a roguelike, you can fake it really easily.
Well, that's true actually. If it's a roguelike, then I think it's very procedural generation is core to that, right? To that whole genre. So yeah, I guess it depends on what you're going for. But procedural generation is hard to do well, but it's also very fun to work on. So I don't blame people for trying it.
Like, I think that's the thing. Like, they've got such a solid concept sort of there already that we can see. It's going to be interesting to see which sort of direction that they sort of like spend the next week or so actually developing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting directions it could go in.
All right. Should we have a look at the next one?
Let's do it.
Welcome to Plunderbusters, a lost and found game where you play an archaeologist who has misplaced all their research notes to their excavation site. Each player has their own excavation site relating to a different part of the world. So you might have a dinosaur dig site, or you might have an Egyptian dig site. On your dig site, you have to bury different types of treasure, different types of artifacts, and also place some traps to catch out other players. You then lay clue cards in relation to where the treasures are buried. In this example, A4 denotes this treasure. All the clue cards from all the players then get shuffled together, and it is your job to track down where other people's treasure are buried. You do this by collecting clue cards and using actions throughout the game. And when you have a pair of clue cards that match, you know where a treasure is. In this example, I have 2 clue cards that relate to E1 in the red excavation site. So if we go to E1 on the red excavation site, we can find a treasure buried there, and we dig it up and gain reputation for ourselves as an archaeologist. The game continues with people finding treasure or different artifacts, and they can also discover different areas by placing down research tokens. And this again can gain you reputation throughout the game. At the end of the game, the person or the archaeologist with the most reputation is the winner. It's still a work in progress, but that is the general overview that we have so far. Tell us what you think.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think. I think it looks lovely already. So this is I guess a sort of traditional board game. So we usually get a couple of board games every year, and like this one looks like a really nice one. I like particularly that they've put it together in tabletop sim as well, which makes it a lot easier for us to play.
Yep, that'll mean we can actually play it, which will be great. I don't think I picked up all of the rules there, but I guess that's difficult to put across in a short video at this point when presumably they're still evolving. But it looked interesting. It wasn't. I can't think of other games that I think it's similar to immediately.
I mean, I almost think it was kind of similar to yours, like having to leave clues to the treasure or something and then go and dig it up. I mean, slightly different mechanics in how you do it,
Yeah.
but it kind of evokes a similar kind of vibe, and it's like, again, sort of really on theme for the jam, the whole lost and found thing. Like, I think it works really nicely. It'll be interesting to see, because, again, like you say, board games are sort of slightly complex to explain in such a short video, and it's one of the things that I definitely learn better through playing. So it's going to be really interesting to see sort of how all those mechanics come together, actually, sort of as we give it a try next week.
I was more thinking about other board games, and sometimes you can reapply mechanics from one board game to another and re-theme and then come up with something interesting. But I can't think of other games that have really done much like that. I guess I don't know if I picked it up correctly, but there seemed to be some element of card trading to get sets, so it's sort of set collection maybe, which gives you the direction, the location of a single treasure. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it completed with a rulebook. where I can have a bit of a play around with it, and we'll play it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, again, it's one of these things that like it looks like. So I don't know how much there is to do sort of behind the scenes, but just on the surface level at least, it looks more or less like it's completely there. So it's going to be really interesting to see sort of if they do sort of develop it, whether it's just play testing and balancing it and things like that, or whether there's sort of like other features that they're going to be adding.
I think that's the thing with board games is that they need a lot of playtesting and and you can make quite drastic balance changes and mechanic changes quite near the end. So I wouldn't be surprised if this changed more than some of the others that we're looking at today, just because that's been my experience of people making board games in the past. It's like you get the end and you say this mechanic doesn't work, so you just rip it out. Whereas in a video game, that's really hard to do because it's all coded in, it's all connected to things. In a board game, you change the rules, right? You can you just need to communicate differently about what people are allowed to do. It's interesting. I've never made a board game at one of these events. It definitely needs a different skill set to make a video game. I noticed Ricky's shouting out in the comments saying to contact him if you want some playtesting. So the team who are working on the board game do give Ricky a shout. And in general, actually, we should probably mention this for any of the games. If you want people to test your game or give feedback in any way, the board game or any of the video games we've already shown, do shout out in the channel, in the Discord. I'd be happy to play some of them. Ricky clearly is up for it, and I'm sure there'll be others. So it's always useful to get early feedback.
Yeah, it's definitely good to get like another set of eyes on it, because like particularly for like board games and things like that, something that might be obvious to you because you've like spent a week already like designing it and things like that, it might be something that needs like a little bit more explaining to somebody who's like totally fresh at it, and that goes for a lot of the digital games as well.
Yeah, I guess with digital games you have a little advantage in that the rules are enforced for you. So if somebody misunderstands and doesn't realize you can't shoot this thing, then it doesn't matter because the game won't allow them to shoot this thing. Whereas with board games, you need to be certain that people are understanding the rules. So yeah, definitely worth getting some extra eyes on that. And we've got volunteers to do it. So yeah, get in touch.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one, shall we?
Let's check out the next video.
This is our game. We're a character who's lost their memories and they're
Are you
trying
there,
to
Tom?
find them again and remember who they are. The first level is of their childhood memories in the playroom. And when we find a memory, like this one here, of our horse Juan, we unlock the ability to double jump. And then we reach the end of the level. And we've started the beach level when they're growing up. And we've got plans for another couple of levels as well, if we get time. And that's it.
Cool. So I guess this is a game that's sort of looking more at the narrative side of that theme. So lost memories and sort of like journeying to recover them and things like that. So that's looking really nicely put together as well. Like a cool sort of I guess almost like environmental storytelling, sort of like the like piecing stuff together from sort of the assets that are in the world.
Yep. Also, another game that looks like it's made by people who've done things with 3D before, which always impresses me. I'm going to call that out every time I see it because I find people who know what they're doing in 3D very impressive. I believe the horse picture probably wasn't original content, but as I understand it, the rest of the assets are the 3D models and everything were created for this game. If that horse was original content and was created for this game, then let me know because I've just told a falsehood. But yeah, go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, it's like particularly sort of like we're only like at the halfway point of the jam, so to see games that have got like you say sort of like 3D assets and stuff already sort of like put together in it, it's really cool to see stuff like getting more and more polished as we sort of get through the jam.
Yeah. So I didn't see, what I didn't see was a reason why the horse led to you being able to double jump. So I'm not sure if there was something there and I just missed it, or if that's just not in yet. Like the thing that tells you you've remembered this thing, so here's the mechanical change that this has on the game. I didn't see that connection. I'm not sure if it's already there though.
Yeah, but I've totally forgotten what I was going to say. But yeah, it'll be cool to sort of see that like evolve like towards the end of the jam, and I'm curious to sort of like find out what the story behind it all is as well, because it's something that you don't want to give away in your little teaser video like this. So it's something that I'm keen to sort of discover when we get to play through it fully. And obviously, I encourage everyone else to go and explore it as well when they're up on our itch page.
Yeah, I know that there's going to be multiple levels. I don't know how many, but I've seen on the screenshots channel they've been posting pictures of the second level, which is on a beach with a lovely looking sandcastle, and you win by jumping in the bucket, I believe.
Nice.
So yeah, it looks interesting. I look forward to seeing more.
All right, so I think we've got one more little video to take a look at. Should we jump into that?
Let's check it out.
So I was talking to a fella when we first found out what the theme for this year's Game Jam was, and I made a joke. I said, what if we made a game where you literally just have to click 1,000,000 times on a haystack until you find a needle? Right? That's it. Needle in a haystack. That was a joke. It was not supposed to be a game. It was a joke, okay? But we didn't have any better idea. So here we are. And of course we thought, what if you could find something else in the haystack besides just a needle? Like a magnet or a battery, I guess? Or, who knows, a flashlight. I wonder if that has anything to do with the battery and with the fact that it seems to be getting darker and darker as you waste time rummaging through this stupid haystack. Oh heavens! It's nighttime already. Good thing I found a flashlight in the haystack to go looking for this pesky needle. Oh no! Well, I guess I lost.
Okay, I really like that as a concept for a game. Like I know he talks.
I can't believe we've gone so far with it.
Yeah, like that's something like I would almost expect to see like just released on the web, like just like that. So yeah, that's right.
They posted the screenshot very early on of the haystack and clicking on it. But I didn't know there was going to be more to it than that, like an actual game there. Yeah, I'm interested to see what else you can find in that haystack.
They do almost sound angry that the joke's taken off. It's like, oh, I guess I've got to make this now.
I think the video was very well put together as well. How they cut,
Yeah.
sounding angry, cut to the itch page where they're creating this joke game that they don't want to work on. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting actually. So I just wonder what they're going to do with it. So obviously you have a look, you find some batteries and a torch, then that'll stop it from getting so dark that you can't look anymore. And then what? I mean, I imagine the scope to put lots of stuff in the haystack.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I saw the sort of screenshot that they posted like very very early on, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a cool gimmick. Like it's a very literal interpretation of the theme again, and I like the way they've done it. And then sort of watching this little teaser video where it's like, oh, actually we've added a bunch of other mechanics, and it's like, oh wow, they actually could make like a full game out of that one throwaway line.
Yeah, I could imagine that game coming together quite nicely and being a nice little web game that people play. I could imagine it working. Considering when I first saw the screenshot, I couldn't imagine it working as a game. I think that's an achievement.
All right. So I think that is the last of the little teaser videos that we've got for this part of the showcase. Thank you to everyone that submitted one. Like they all look really really good. We're happy to have seen sort of the progress you've made so far, and like I keep saying, I'm really excited to see how they continue to develop. So Johnny, where should they go from here?
Where should they go from here? So, so just to repeat what Tom said, thanks everybody who submitted a video there, and also people who haven't submitted a video but who are still participating in the jam and creating games and getting on the screenshot action and everything. If you haven't submitted a video but something comes together in the next few days, please send it, and we will be able to stream it on the stream next week ahead of playing through all of the games. Also, do remember to make sure to have your game playable and uploaded to itch by Friday at 7 p.m. because if it is, we will be able to stream it on Sunday, us having a playthrough and a more thorough discussion. It's been quite shallow here because obviously all we have to go on is 30-second videos of you talking through your idea. But hopefully by next week we'll have a full game, then we'll have a nice playthrough and really dig into it a little bit. So yeah, please do continue working on your games. I think they're all looking really good, and we've got some really good entries here. Continue to participate in the Discord, particularly in the screenshots. Show us your updates as you go. If you want to give an updated video next week, you can do that. Otherwise, just leave it as is, and we'll replay this video ahead of our playthroughs next week. One other thing to note is Ricky is calling out, can we showcase Tom's game?
Okay. So as always, as is tradition with our Southampton site for the game jam, I come up with a sort of vague idea, open a code editor, and then immediately close it and say, nope, too busy this year. If you keep calling me out like this, I don't know, maybe I'll throw something together that I can at least sort of put together a very brief let's play for at the end. But let's not hold our breath.
It's worth noting that our viewer numbers went up by 1 when we started talking about your game there, Tom. So you give the people what they want. So that's it. That's it for our stream now, for our mini showcase. Thanks everybody for participating. Thanks, Tom. Thanks everybody who's participating in the game jam generally, and please continue to do so. And thanks Ricky for calling out Tom, who's now going to make a game. And we will be back next week on Sunday, where we will be playing through everybody's submitted games, and we will be announcing the winner of the People's Choice Award, which will be voted for by the other participants.
And
I think
until
that's all.
Yep, and until then we'll be in our Discord every day from 6 till 7, and probably outside of those times as well, so make sure you come along, keep sharing your progress in the screenshots channels. As I say, it's really great to see sort of like the progress of these games and sort of look at how they evolve. So thanks for coming along, everyone. We will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.